It is the Notorious Jawcast from the city of Moose Jaw, the official podcast, videocast from Canada's most notorious city, and our official community plan, getting you notoriously engaged for the last several weeks, continues. But we thought this would be a great time to get a project update because so much has happened. We've jammed a lot into the last few weeks and meeting you in Moose Jaw to hear what you have to say so far. And to join us is our Director of Planning and Development with the city of Moose Jaw, Michelle Sanson. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having us.
You bet. And Brenda Wallace and Alan Wallace from Wallace Insights, our project consultants who are helping us guide us through this process. Hi, Brenda and Alan.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
It's been exciting, and there's been a lot, as we said, going on, a lot of public engagement sessions so far. I guess Michelle is, from us in City Hall, been able to kind of watch a bit from a distance and watch our consultants handle all of these events. It's been exciting to watch and pretty encouraging to see the amount of participation we've had so far, right?
It really is, Craig. Like we've had some great sessions with the public and those that have come out to some of the workshops and even the pop-ups. Everybody seems to want to know what's going on, especially at a pop-up, and find out what these bingo chips are all about or what these boards are all about, and trying to figure out what our city's going to look like in the future. But I mean, from a city's perspective, this has been really, really exciting to see the engagement and those that are interested in participating in these sessions we've had so far.
And we really need that public engagement to help craft this official community plan as it lays out a roadmap for our city for the next 10 years in so many different ways. And maybe if you're watching this, you visited our webpage, moosejaw.ca/OCP, and there's a host of information there, a number of introductory and explanatory videos that explain the OCP, what it is, why it's important, and also explains this process we're going through with engagement, which is really just getting going. We've got a long way to go here in different phases. And Brendan, Allen, I guess, in addition to what has been shared on those videos on the webpage, what's been the focus of the background research for the OCP update so far?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you can tell by the topics that we've put together for engagement, but we've been compiling stacks and stacks of documents and reams of data to understand the trends, the influences, and the choices that are available in Moose Jaw today, and use those to help discuss options into the future. And so the themes are considering what living in Moose Jaw is all about, moving around and what those choices are, working and investing, the diversity of Moose Jaw's economy through shops, services, and tourism, public services that underpin development and encourage and incentivize development. These include utilities, infrastructure, and community infrastructure, that parks and culture, for example. And these enable the community connections and quality of life. So we're looking at Moose Jaw's geographic and natural context and the setting of what's going on with all of these, and they become the basis of engagement. We're also going to use this information not only to engage with people in Moose Jaw, but also to help guide a structure of a financial review. Certainly, an official community plan should help a community maintain affordability into the future. And this is an important aspect for the sustainability of Moose Jaw, both for the local government, but also for individual taxpayers.
Right. Well, we do like to say that, one of the things you get when you come to Moose Jaw and our Get a Life campaign is you get, a high quality of life for much less than you'd find in other centers. But, this plan will help us really define even more what that is. Would that be right?
Absolutely. And, the other thing that defines that as well is the population demographics itself. So I have a couple of slides I can share to show you some of the background research we've been finding about who are Moose Javians and what does that demographics maybe say about the future. And I'll maybe let Al speak to these. So if it's okay, I'll share my screen.
It's more than okay.
Great. Thanks, Brenda. And, the OCP is important because, every city changes. Even if you do nothing, it's going to change around you. And I think it's better to prepare for the future than to react to it and have to respond to it on a back foot. And that's what the official community plan is all about. So what Brenda's put up on the screen here are some important information around, how Moose Jaw has grown and how it's expected to grow. The first 60 years of this city grew rapidly, as you can see in the chart. Since about 1960, it has leveled off, and it has had ups and downs in accordance with the Saskatchewan resource economy. But there's a worldwide trend happening around us, and we're not going to be immune to it, and that is urbanization. Urbanization is going to continue, and with Moose Jaw being in the top 5 cities in Saskatchewan, it's going to be a destination. Going forward, we don't expect this trend line to go down or be level. We expect it to rise. We're not going to gaze into a crystal ball and pick a number and say it's going to be 45,000 in a certain year. What we're going to do instead is we're going to frame the official community plan so that it has a time frame. In other words, we want your opinion and your thoughts as to how Moose Jaw will be the best quality of life and the best city to live in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years. Official community plans are used as guides. They're decision-making guides, high-level policy, which will help to ensure that the population of the future in Moose Jaw is satisfied with the community and wants to stay and live, work, and play in Moose Jaw. We'll maybe go to the next slide, Brenda. So this is one of the most important slides, in my opinion. If you look 15 years ago in 2006, which is the chart on the left, you'll see that Moose Jaw was responding mainly to the needs and desires of a age group which was young, between the ages of 10 and 24, and also a fairly substantial working age population, which would be the parents of those young people between the ages of 35 and 55. Zip ahead 15 years and you've got a third wave now. You've got a seniors population and a wave of seniors that are going to be asking for things of their community. They're going to want Moose Jaw to be more age friendly. Going to want Moose Jaw to accommodate housing needs for seniors and in areas that have amenities for seniors and things like that. Maybe the retrofitting of some parks that have active infrastructure to more passive infrastructure, things like that, as well as continuing to meet the demands of young people, the working age people, and now you have a third peak, which it will put more pressure on council to ensure that Moose Jaw is a diverse community and can accept all age groups and meet their needs and desires.
Well, those are interesting stats, and the OCP then should then again help us then read into the future, you said, with these numbers, and then suggest some plans to accommodate what we're expecting to happen, right?
That's right. Demographics is a great tool to help you help decision makers. I'm thinking of council here and administration, so you're not surprised by any trends that come about and requests for things in the community. One of the things the OCP doesn't talk about much right now is age friendly, and a lot of municipalities and cities, of course, have a similar demographic to Moose Jaw now, and they need to become more age friendly. So we'll be focusing on that as well as many other things.
Yeah, if I might add, I think one of the things Moose Jaw can be proud of is the fact that it's been able to retain the generational waves through time. So that's a testament to the quality of life and affordability that's available in Moose Jaw. And that's what we're trying to protect and preserve through the official community plan is, people are getting a life in Moose Jaw. We want them to be able to keep that. And so we've been talking about this as getting a plan for life so that, things can continue in a positive way.
The engagement sessions we've talked about, in case somebody's just looping in now to this plan, have been a great mix of the pop-ups, just showing up at some different community places where people are already at, the Kinsman Sportsplex on a real busy Saturday, and SAS Polytech and places like that. And you've also engaged various stakeholder groups to really have some specific sessions, meeting with Timothy Eaton Gardens and our seniors community and tourism and shops in Moose Jaw. Now that we're about halfway through that, what are some of the most frequently asked or frequently heard things coming out of those sessions?
Well, I think, Brenda, you were maybe going to put up another series of slides here, but housing and transportation, comes up in almost every conversation that we have. And, talking about housing a little bit, there are some things we need to address in the official community plan. One of the very first things to note is that, Moose Jaw is an affordable place to live, and that's a great statistic when you see, that rent and ownership is taking up about a third of people's income. That is generally regarded as a measure of affordability, and you're well within those ranges. Now, that affordability has been eroded a little bit with the high interest rates, but that's a relative thing because it affects all cities across Canada. One of the things that we do need to pay attention to is housing choice. Moose Jaw is predominantly single family, which is one of the things we have noted, that 71%. Typically, communities in Saskatchewan, cities in particular, tend to have a split of about 60-40, 60% single unit dwellings and 40% multis. And that's in response to demand for different housing choices, diverse housing, different formats. So the last thing you want to see is a population that can't find the housing that meets their needs. It has to be suitable, adequate, and affordable. We just flashed up Red Deer, Alberta, for example. In Alberta, a medium-sized city, medium-small-sized city in Alberta, they're 53% single families. So they have obviously a greater diversity of housing. So that's one issue that we'll look at with regards to housing. Another one is the housing stock in Moose Jaw tends to be on the older side, and with statistics like 80-year-old housing, 20% of the housing is 80 plus years old. Over half of the housing is also over 40 years old. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of renovation, redevelopment occurring in the housing stock, and 25% of the housing is newer housing. So I think what's going to happen as we go along in time here is you're going to find the renovation market fairly hot, but you're also going to find, as Moose Jaw grows, and it will grow, a demand for new housing. And there's some new subdivisions on the horizon. We also have to look at even beyond that, what's next, even past that short-term horizon. And then finally, what we've noticed about the location of housing is, and planners have done this a lot for the last 75 or 80 years, is we've tended to separate things very well. We brought that in as almost to an art form. And where people live is not in, it's not in the best places as to where people work and shop. What we mean by that is, as we go forward, I think there's going to be more desire to mix uses. As we've mentioned, industry today is not nearly the industry it was when your grandfather worked and so on, where industry was a very dirty job and a very dirty type of environment. But that's no longer the case. And I think we can blend uses together, not necessarily industrial and residential, but certainly commercial. And bring the shops closer to where people live so they don't have to always get in a car for convenience items. So those are some of the trends, and we're speaking very high level here and being very brief as we can, but those are important trends to note as we go forward.
That's fascinating, and perspective is so interesting too from the different people we hear from. I have never personally heard Moose Jaw being referred to as a really great walkable city, certainly our downtown, but as you mentioned, sometimes shops aren't real close to where people are living. Yet I spoke to a fellow from Ontario the other day who's an instructor at Sask Polytech, and where he came from in Ontario coming to Moose Jaw, he says Moose Jaw is a tremendously walkable city, and he has no issues, taking 20, 25 minutes, and he can walk anywhere. And so it is interesting hearing those perspectives, which is why it's so important to reach back out with the engagement sessions, right?
Yeah, for sure, Craig. And on that transportation side of things, Alan's explained the housing's feedback we've been hearing and what some of the issues that are being talked about. There are some transportation perspectives out there. And we recognize that it is planning that has affected people's sense of choice. So maybe I'll share the screen again and to show what we've been finding in terms of, where people live, as Al mentioned, that density of where people are living is not in proximity of the shops and services and where people are working today. And this is creating distances that are too far for walking unless you are living there, which I would suggest your friend is coming from Ontario may have purchased a place that was closer to shops because they're more used to more complete neighborhoods. But that's not as widely available in Moose Jaw today. And the other thing that we've noticed is that where there has been great investment in making Moose Jaw walkable, providing safe cycling, it's more around what Jan Gell, who's a famous planner from Europe, talks about Sunday routes, which is for recreation. So if you look at this map of your trail network, for example, lovely scenic recreational opportunities, but not much of a Monday route, which is your commute to work or your daily needs or your education and learning. So we've been hearing a lot about that. We've also been hearing about transit. And, the thing that we have observed through our background research is that a number of cities are realizing the value that transit provides for economic development in their community, helping people get to their jobs, bringing people to events, bringing people to shops and services. So the thinking about transit is changing, and a lot of smaller cities are innovating with their transit service so they can realize those opportunities. So we think we have some interesting things to bring forward into future engagement to talk about.
Absolutely, and as we've talked about, we really are just getting going. This is the first phase of engagement, and we're going to keep having some sessions and kind of crest a little bit with April 5th. There's a big event we've got that night at the May Wilson Theater in Moose Jaw. So if you would mind explaining again what we're going to be doing that night and want our residents to come out to.
Sure. Yeah, this is a free public event. We're bringing in a keynote speaker from the University of Saskatchewan who is a researcher in population demographics, as Alan spoke to earlier in the Jawcast here. Who makes up your population has a great influence into the future development and needs of the community. So she'll help explain some of that and what those relationships are, and also how immigration can be used to help smooth out some of the waves and make demand more predictable. We also have invited some local Moose Javians from the different generations so that they can share what their experience of living in Moose Jaw is. It's good for people to hear about each other's needs and demands, and also their aspirations for the future that will inform the plan. So that on top of more workshops around some of the topics that include community infrastructure and employment areas, as well as meeting with groups like the Youth Advisory Committee, the Chamber of Commerce, and some of the First Nations that have been investing in Moose Jaw to date. That will kind of round out the first phase of this engagement in the project. And we do plan to put up more videos to our project webpage based on the background research that we've been compiling here. And these will form the chapters of a big background document called Get to Know Moose Jaw, and we'll post that to our webpage as well.
Exciting stuff, and full marks for pronouncing Moose Javians properly.
Well, my parents do live there, so it would be inexcusable for me to get it wrong.
Well, that does help. Brenda Wallace, Alan Wallace from Wallace Insights. Any further thoughts from you as we continue to move forward with the OCP?
Craig, just to finish up here, it's probably in the back of people's mind. Where's all this leading to? What does it lead to in the end? And with all this engagement that's been designed and all the information that we've gathered, we have to sit down with Michelle and her staff, and we have to do a full policy review of the existing official community plan, come up with some policy directions that they want us to focus on. Once we have some draft policies and some draft directions, we'll do a little more engagement to make sure these are the right things to focus on. There'll be some final engagement, and then it's a year-long project. We should be able to deliver by early 24 a new official community plan for the city of Moose Jaw. In conjunction with that, and we haven't mentioned this too much, is the zoning bylaw will be amended and updated as we go, and it'll start to probably this summer and into the fall. It'll start to pick up steam, and that is also a companion document. That's a very important one, of course, that will help to regulate land use as we go forward. So exciting project, but we hope it's going to take some time, and we'll get into the nitty gritty with the policy, within the next 6 months or so here.
Fantastic. Michelle, any final thoughts from you before we go?
Well, thanks, Craig. I just want to let everyone know, or have them find a way to get engaged. Like, we'll listen, we'll take any comments, concerns, and talk to anybody that's willing to participate or come out, especially on April 5th. We'd love to see you that night.
And if you
Yeah.
can't make it out or don't want to come out publicly, you can still have your voice heard. There is a survey on our page. There's a comment box, so you can just type in your comments, and Brenda and Alan will take those into consideration with all the other information we're receiving from you. moosejaw.ca/OCP. Get a plan for life. Brenda, Alan, Michelle, thanks for being on the Jawcast.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Craig.
Very much, Craig.